This is every single fight to make after UFC Fight Night Mexico City Moreno versus Royval 2. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now. Some winners, some losers, and you may notice there's an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Of course, I've also included, because there wasn't many big names on this card, I've included Alejandro Pantoja because he is... You know, people are asking questions on who he's going to be fighting next based on the main event of Royval versus Moreno. So, Brandon Royval seems to think that he's going to be fighting against Alejandro Pantoja next. And this main event was sort of used as a fight to decide who was going to be next for Alejandro Pantoja. Now, Pantoja is collectively 5-0 against both Brandons, okay? He's 3-0 against Moreno and 2-0 against Royval. Of course, only really 2-0 because he beat Moreno on tough and it counts as an exhibition matchup. Neither of them are getting a fight with Pantoja. What happened to actually going on a streak to earn a title shot? I don't like this. Well, there's no one else and this guy's won a fight, so let's just do him versus the champ. Royval's lost twice to Pantoja. One got dominated in a decision over 5 rounds and had no answer for being held down on the ground by Pantoja. 2 got finished easily and early. I need to be sold more than, oh wow, he really beat up Moreno's forearms before I start talking about a title shot for Brandon Royval. Him versus Manel Cap, and not just Manel Cap. The winner of Manel Cap versus Kai Kara France, which should be made by now. What are we waiting for at Flyweight? It seems like they trying to hold everything back. I know Manel Cap fumbled because if he would have beaten Nicolau, he would have been fighting for the title at UFC 301 against Pantoja regardless. But what's the hold up? Manel Cap's not injured. He missed weight. Rebook him and put him against Kai Kara France in March, in April, as soon as you possibly can. Add it to the prelims of UFC 300. It's a hyped up matchup that people are looking forward to. And the winner of that can fight Brandon Royval for a title shot in the flyweight division. In the meantime, Brandon Moreno, the loser of the main event, who maybe don't have that dog in him anymore after watching that performance in the main event. He lost against Brandon Royval, and I think next up for him should be Matheus Nicolau, the person that was supposed to be fighting Manel Cap. But Matheus Nicolau's coming off a loss to Brandon Royval by TKO with a knee to the face. He hasn't had anything rebooked since his fight with Manel Cap. So, you know what? Brandon Moreno took little to no damage compared to what he normally does. Get him right back in there. Right back in there. Maybe even on that Brazilian pay-per-view as well, seeing as Matheus Nicolau's from Brazil. Put it on that Brazil pay-per-view card. Brandon Moreno versus Matheus Nicolau. Book the fight, because I think Brandon Moreno's going to be in a mindset of, that wasn't me, I looked terrible out there, I need to shake off the cobwebs and get right back in there and right this wrong, which I think is what Moreno's game plan is going to be moving forward, is going to be to get straight back in there. So hopefully he does get straight back in there against Matheus Nicolau at UFC 301 in Brazil. We need big matchups, including Brazilian names on that card, because all of the Brazilians are on UFC 300, so that's what I think they should do. We move on to the co-main event, which really kind of felt like the main event. Brian Ortega defeated Yair Rodriguez. I know, crazy, but Brian Ortega got it done. You know, he got the submission. Great win for him. He needed this win as well, because I really thought it was going to be a tough go for him if he lost this one, because very difficult to... If he wouldn't have been top level in this fight and got shown as not top level, which arguably he did on the feet still, but he got the submission, then it would have been a tough rebuild for him, or rebirth for him in the featherweight division moving forward, because he probably would have been given like Josh Emmett or Arnold Allen, which are tough matchups for him. So Brian Ortega won the fight. He's not going to get a title shot though. He's on a 1-fight win streak. He hasn't fought in ages. I also thought it wasn't a good performance from him, and I'm sure he'll think the same. I thought he looked awful in that fight on the feet. He had no ability at all. Slow, sloppy, no head movement, no timing, but got the takedowns that he needed on Yair to get the submission eventually in the fight. So I don't, as much as he won and it's a big moment, I need someone who I'm going to be like, wow, this guy might beat Ilia Topuria if they're going to get a title shot. And that's just not who Brian Ortega was in that fight. To me, in that fight, it looked like both of these guys would get smoked by Ilya any day, wherever in the world. They're getting smoked by him because they're awful. But he won. So I think he deserves a title elimination bout or something that's going to get him at least closer to a title. Because he has had a few title shots in his career so far. We've got Evloev. We've got Holloway. Holloway might be returning after the lightweight move. Who knows? Evloev might be used as a rebound for Volkanovski. He might just get a title shot anyway if Ilya wants to stay active, because I think Evloev has earned it more than Brian Ortega has. But Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling might be the move. Or Calvin Kattar. I actually think Calvin Kattar might win that matchup against Aljo, but I'm worried about how Calvin's knee is going to be coming back, because he's going to have to stuff some takedowns. But he's known for good takedown defense. But against what wrestlers? You know what I mean? We don't know. Brian Ortega, Aljamain Sterling. That's the matchup to make. If Aljo gets past Calvin Kattar at UFC 300. And if Calvin Kattar wins, you've got a good Apex Fight Night featherweight main event. Even a crowded fight night main event, including Brian Ortega and Calvin Kattar, or Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. 5-rounder, put him in the spotlight. That's an amazing matchup to make in the featherweight division. And Aljamain Sterling actually called him out on YouTube. I saw his thumbnail. I didn't see the video, but I saw the thumbnail and he said, "Is Brian Ortega my next fight after Calvin Kattar," or something. So he's clearly interested in that matchup as well. I would be. Make it happen. It's actually a great fun matchup of grapplers there. We move on. Yair Rodriguez. Disgrace. Pathetic. No takedown defense, man, after all these years. Just zero ability. He did good in the first round on the feet, but sloppy, awful, looked terrible on the feet, so bad. But him versus Arnold Allen is something I want to see, because I want Yair Rodriguez to use his anger within his performance, or with his performance, because I know Yair Rodriguez is going to look at himself in that first round and think, I've been striking for 2 decades. What the fuck am I doing in that first round? Awful. So him versus Arnold Allen is the matchup I want to see, and I want to see it soon, because I know Yair is going to be annoyed at himself. So I want him to channel the anger, like Brandon Moreno. Both of you guys looked shit for Mexico, in Mexico, on the day the UFC PI in Mexico was fucking opened. You guys fumbled it massively and disgraced your nation. So, get back in there soon. You don't deserve a holiday. You don't deserve time off. Get back in there. Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, Manchester, UK, in July. That's 5 months away. That's not even asking for too much. Put them on that card in the UK, on the main card of the pay-per-view, in July, in Manchester. Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. And that would be a great addition to that card. We move on. Plus, Arnold Allen has earned a shot of a fight, a big fight in his home country. Come on. Seeing as Yair got his opportunity and fumbled it like a bitch. Alejandro, I'm still not over that shit. Either way. Brian Ortega's top 3 level at UFC featherweight. Either way. Alejandro Pantoja, of course. Who does this leave him with? It leaves him with Amir Albazi. And I know people are going to be angry about that. They are. And I completely understand. Because I'm angry about this reality as well. But at the end of the day, Amir Albazi, I know he pulled out of his last fight. And I know his last fight that he actually had was against Kai Kara France, and it was a robbery win. But he's going to be ranked number 1 in the world at flyweight, and he's coming off wins, and he's not lost to anyone recently. And he's going to be ranked number 1. So, like, there's literally him in the rankings that people just are ignoring right now, being there as an existing human in the men's flyweight division. I'm not trying to see Pantoja beat Royval for a 3rd time. We just saw that. It was literally Pantoja's last fight, him dominating Royval over 5 rounds. I don't want to see Pantoja versus anyone else. Like, even if it was Moreno, I wouldn't have wanted to see it. Moreno was supposed to fight Albazi, of course. That didn't end up happening. I say just do Amir Albazi, Alejandro Pantoja. I know it's not a big matchup. I know it's not going to be any fun. But neither is the matchup between him and Royval in terms of star power. So you might as well just give it to the most deserving one that's actually a fresh matchup for him. And in the meantime, we can build a legit contender to take on Pantoja afterwards. And who knows, maybe Albazi wins, and that opens up the floodgates for a Royval or a Moreno to actually get a title shot against someone that they haven't lost to multiple times. So that's what I think they should be doing. We go back to Daniel Zellhuber, who won against Prado, Francisco Prado. Amazing win from Daniel Zellhuber. Solid performance from him. I reckon he should be looking to take on Fares Siam, who also got a win on this card. I think it makes all the sense in the world. They're both in the same division. They both won on the same card. Both guys had a decision that was a bit of a grueling fight, a little bit in different ways. Daniel Zellhuber was more of a damage grueling fight, whereas Siam was more of a grappling grueling fight. So they're both going to want a little bit of time off, but bring them back August, July, put them against each other. Two lanky weirdos going at each other in the lightweight division. We move on to another fight, which is Manuel Torres got a huge win over Chris Duncan. Amazing win, one of the biggest wins of his career, or the biggest win of his career. Got the finish in the first round. And I'm a massive favor of no time off. You got your finish, you got your performance bonus, you got no damage. Utilize that and get right back in there. And I think get him right back in there for about May. I would say May, and put him against Nazim Sadikov, who doesn't have a matchup. Was supposed to be fighting someone recently, pulled out of that fight, I think, or someone pulled out of that fight, so you know he's looking for a matchup. Let's do Manuel Torres versus Nazim Sadikov. I think that's an amazing style matchup for a fun fight, because both of them always have fun fights, and I think they should put this as like the feature fight, or the somewhere on the main card of a fight night card. Give it some level of spotlight that it deserves, or maybe put it on the prelims of a pay-per-view, like the prelims, not the early prelims. Give it some kind of spotlight. Maybe on the UFC 301 card in Brazil. That could work. Not on UFC 300. Maybe on any fight nights around then. Maybe even at Atlantic City, New Jersey. I don't know if Manuel Torres will be able to make that turnaround, but I know Nazim Sadikov's from that region of America, so maybe that'd work out for him. Make that matchup and make it soon. We move on. Jesus Aguilar won his fight at Flyweight. Another Flyweight on the card who won was Felipe Dos Santos. Both had lackluster performances that arguably they didn't win. Put the losers of both matchups against each other. Put the winners of both matchups against each other. They were both on the same card. They're going to be on the same schedule. Make it happen. We move on to the final fight. Mohamed Naimov got a big win against Eric Silva. It was a step down for him, though. He shouldn't have even been fighting this guy. Because he beat Malarkey, who's quite a good unranked lightweight, and then beat Nathaniel Wood in a robbery where he cheated a bunch, but he gets away with it, whatever. So he's actually quite highly ranked. I reckon Lerone Murphy was supposed to fight Dan Ige, pulled out. I think that loses him his jump up. Like, you don't just get infinite jumps up if you're going to pull out of fights. So Naimov versus Lerone Murphy, UFC Manchester in the UK in July. Put it on the prelims of the pay-per-view. I think that's a good spotlight for it. So there you go. That's all the matchups I would make. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.